What would you do if you caught the person you loved hurting your child? Picture this. You walk into your own home and hear the most terrifying sound a parent can hear, your child's frightened cry. Your heart stops. Your world tilts. And in that moment, everything you thought you knew about the person you planned to marry crumbles to dust. Have you ever trusted someone completely, only to discover they weren't who you thought they were? Has someone you loved ever shown you their true face when they thought no one was watching? This is the story of Calvin Merritt, a tech billionaire who seemed to have it all. Well beyond imagination, a stunning fiancée, and most importantly, a 7-year-old daughter who was the light of his life. But on one ordinary Friday afternoon, Calvin walked into his mansion and discovered a betrayal so shocking that his response left everyone speechless. What he did next wasn't what anyone expected from a powerful billionaire. No screaming, no dramatic confrontation, just 6 words that changed everything forever. If you've ever had to choose between love and family, hit that like button right now, because this story will show you what real strength looks like. Calvin Merritt didn't inherit his billions. He earned every single dollar, starting with nothing but a laptop and a dream in his college dorm room. He built a technology empire that revolutionized how the world connects. But success didn't change what mattered most to him. 3 years ago, Calvin made a decision that surprised the business world. While touring a children's home during a charity event, he met 7-year-old Nia, a bright girl with eyes full of hope and a laugh that could melt the coldest heart. Other kids ran toward potential parents with desperate enthusiasm, but Nia sat quietly in the corner, reading a book about space exploration. What do you want to be when you grow up? Calvin asked her. An astronaut, she said simply, so I can see if the stars are really as beautiful up close as they look from here. That day, Calvin knew his life had found its true purpose. The adoption process took months, but finally, Nia had a father, and Calvin had discovered that no amount of money could compare to hearing someone call you daddy. Enter Juliet Blackwood. Stunning, sophisticated, and everything the tabloids expected from a billionaire's fiancée. She charmed reporters, attended charity galas, and looked perfect in every photograph. The media called them the couple of the century. But cameras don't capture everything. While Calvin worked 18-hour days building his empire bigger, Juliet grew tired of sharing the spotlight with a child who wasn't really theirs. She smiled for the cameras, but behind closed doors, her patience with Nia grew thinner each day. Comment below if you think wealth changes how people see family, because what Calvin was about to discover would test everything he believed about love. The cracks started small. Nia's drawings disappeared from the refrigerator. Her favorite books mysteriously went missing. When Calvin asked about it, Juliet had perfect explanations. I was cleaning up, or she left them lying around. Calvin noticed Nia becoming quieter during family dinners. When he asked if everything was okay, she just gnawed and pushed food around her plate. But children have a way of protecting the adults they love, even when those adults should be protecting them. Daddy's so busy, Nia would whisper to herself, practicing what Juliet had told her. Good girls don't bother Daddy with little problems. The business trips became longer. Calvin was negotiating the biggest deal of his career, a merger that would expand his company globally. He missed bedtime stories, weekend park visits, and the small moments that mean everything to a 7-year-old. Meanwhile, Juliet's mask slipped further each day. She'd send Nia to her room during adult conversations. She'd forget to pack Nia's lunch for school. Small cruelties designed to remind a little girl that she was unwelcome in her own home. But Calvin had no idea what was happening at home. The morning of that fateful Friday, Calvin sat in a conference room in Chicago, listening to lawyers discuss contract terms. Something felt wrong. Call it father's intuition, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to be home. Gentlemen, I apologize, but I need to cut this short, Calvin announced, standing abruptly. My family needs me. His assistant scrambled to book the earliest flight home. Calvin's business partners were confused. He'd never left a negotiation before. But for the first time in months, Calvin was listening to what his heart had been trying to tell him. Have you ever had that gut feeling something was wrong at home? That instinct that makes you drop everything and rush back to the people you love? Let me know in the comments, Because Calvin's intuition was about to save his daughter from something unthinkable. The private jet couldn't fly fast enough. Calvin's key turned in the front door at 3:47 p.m. on a Friday afternoon. The house felt different, too quiet, like the calm before a storm. He set down his briefcase and listened. From upstairs came the sound every parent dreads, a child's frightened whimper, followed by harsh adult voices. His blood turned to ice. Calvin took the marble stairs 3 at a time, his heart hammering against his ribs. The sounds were coming from Nia's playroom, the sanctuary he designed filled with telescopes, art supplies, and every book a curious 7-year-old could want. The door was slightly open. What he saw through that crack changed everything. Juliet stood over Nia, who was cowering on the floor next to Calvin's prized crystal globe, a gift from his first major client, now shattered in pieces around them. "You stupid, clumsy child." Juliet's voice was cold, venomous. "Do you have any idea how much that was worth? You ruin everything you touch." Nia's small body shook as she tried to clean up the pieces with her bare hands. I'm sorry, she whispered. "I was just trying to see the countries Daddy showed me." "Your daddy?" Juliet laughed bitterly. "He's not your real daddy, you little..." That's when she shoved Nia aside. The 7-year-old's shoulder hit the wooden toy chest with a sickening thud. Nia cried out, clutching her arm, tears streaming down her face. Time stopped. Calvin pushed open the door, and for a moment, the room held its breath. Juliet spun around, her face draining of color as she realized she'd been caught. Her mouth open and closed like a fish gasping for air. Everyone expected an explosion. Calvin Merritt was known for his commanding presence in boardrooms, his ability to destroy competition with a few well-chosen words. Surely he would rage, threaten, maybe even call the police. But Calvin surprised everyone, including himself. His face remained perfectly calm as he walked past Juliet, without even looking at her. He knelt beside Nia, gathering her trembling body into his arms with the gentleness of someone handling the most precious thing in the universe. "Daddy?" Nia whispered, uncertain if she was in trouble too. Calvin looked directly into her eyes, his voice steady and sure. "No one who harms my daughter has a place in my life." 6 words. That's all it took to end an engagement worth millions and send a clear message about what truly mattered. Juliet stood frozen, watching this quiet declaration of war. She'd expected shouting, accusations, maybe even a chance to explain or apologize. Instead, Calvin's calm certainty was more devastating than any anger could have been. Still holding Nia, Calvin reached for his phone with one hand and pressed a single contact. "Marcus, I need security at the house immediately," he said, his voice never wavering. "Ms. Blackwood will be leaving permanently. Please ensure she takes only what she brought here." "Calvin, wait." Juliet finally found her voice. "You don't understand. She was being careless with your things. I was just..." "Protecting my property?" Calvin's eyes met hers for the first time since entering the room. "The only property I care about protecting is right here in my arms." He stood, Nia clinging to him like a lifeline. "And she's not property at all. She's my daughter, my choice, my heart, and anyone who can't see that has no business in our lives." Within minutes, Marcus and 2 other security officers appeared in the doorway. Juliet looked around the room desperately, perhaps hoping to find some trace of the man who had proposed to her on a yacht in Monaco, who had seemed so charmed by her sophistication. But that man had just discovered something more important than charm or sophistication. He'd witnessed what happened when someone threatened the person who mattered most. "The ring," Calvin said simply, extending his hand. Juliet's fingers shook as she twisted off the 5-carat diamond that had made headlines in gossip magazines. As it dropped into Calvin's palm, she made one last attempt. "You'll regret this," she whispered. "No one else will understand what it means to be married to someone like you." Calvin adjusted Nia in his arms and smiled, the first genuine smile anyone had seen from him in months. "You're right," he said. "No one else will ever have to understand, because I already found my family." The tabloids had a field day. "Billionaire's shocking split," screamed the headlines. What really happened behind closed doors? Calvin didn't release a statement. He didn't hire a publicist or try to control the narrative. Instead, he did something radical. He focused on what actually mattered. The first thing he did was take 2 weeks off work, something his employees had never seen him do. He and Nia flew to a private island where they could heal away from cameras and speculation. "Daddy, are you sad about Juliet?" Nia asked on their second day, as they built sandcastles on an empty beach. Calvin considered the question seriously. "I'm sad that she couldn't love you the way you deserve to be loved," he said. "But I'm not sad she's gone. Sometimes people show us who they really are, and we have to believe them. But what if people think you're weird for choosing me over her?" Calvin stopped building and looked at his daughter, really looked at her. This brilliant, brave, beautiful little girl who worried about his reputation even after being hurt. "Nia, do you know what makes someone family?" She shook her head. "It's not blood or DNA or official papers. It's showing up. It's choosing each other every single day. It's protecting each other when the world gets scary." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "You are my daughter in every way that counts. And anyone who has a problem with that doesn't deserve a place at our table." The business world watched in amazement as Calvin restructured his entire life. He hired a CEO to handle day-to-day operations, moved his office to a building with an attached school, and made it clear that Nia was his priority. Subscribe if you believe real love means protecting those who matter most. Because Calvin's story proves that the strongest people aren't those who never fall, but those who know exactly who to catch when they do. Calvin Merritt learned something that day that no business school teaches, that real wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the people who make your house a home. Today, Nia is 10 years old and still dreams of being an astronaut. And Calvin? He's learned that being the right kind of father is the most important job title he'll ever hold. What would you have done in Calvin's situation? Have you ever had to choose between what looks right and what is right? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video if you believe children deserve adults who will always choose them first. And subscribe for more stories about people who prove that love is the most powerful force in any universe, even one ruled by money. Thanks for watching, and remember, family isn't who you're born to, it's who you'd fight for.